Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order, please. Just a couple of side notes. Councilor Meringue is excused from the meeting this evening, and Councilor Seeley, I'm sure, is running as fast as he can to get here, but he's busy working. Nonetheless, item 2 is adjustments to the agenda.
I have one adjustment. Under executive session, I need to have an executive session on personal matters and consultation with legal counsel.
Do I have a motion to that effect?
I make that motion. I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call please, Sarah.
Dana Cummings?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Boone?
Yes. Item 3, public hearing, renewal of liquor license, Old Style Grill, 35 Water Street. Anybody in the public wish to speak for or against? Hearing none, let's close the public hearing. Item 3A, action on public hearing, renewal liquor license, Old Style Grill, 35 Water Street.
I'll make a motion to renew the liquor license for Old South Grill.
I will second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call please, Sarah.
Dana Cummings?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Boone?
Yes. Item 4, public open forum. Anybody? Jean?
Just as close to your mouth as you can
I'm
possibly.
Jean Pegram, 144 County Road. I don't know that because I missed last month's meeting and I didn't see the proposed visitors code of conduct. So I haven't been able to avail myself of that. My concern is that it struck me as discriminatory. Why would it not be for everybody in town, for residents and for visitors, that you expect a certain code of conduct? Brian, go ahead.
Can I clarify? The word visitor, we'll talk about this in detail on the agenda, but to forestall this concern, it's about people who come to City Hall. We've had some issues with behavior from the public, so it's not about visitors versus residents. It's about people who come to visit City Hall regardless of where they live.
Okay, so I think that's a huge point of clarification
We could rename it.
that we need to have, because, it struck me as being unwelcoming. It struck me as we are already grossly ADA out of compliance and pretty much in defiance, and then if we were asking visitors, just visitors in town, okay, then I feel a whole lot better, so it wouldn't have an economic impact, and who would enforce it? Because we have enough trouble getting enforcement now. Thank you. That makes all the difference in the world.
Sorry for the confusion.
Thank you, Jean.
Oh, it's pretty well.
Is it? Anybody else from the public?
Richard Adams, South Street. I have a question. The building that's on the corner of South Street and High Street that was vacated by the people that were living in there. And all the junk has been thrown out on the High Street side of the building. I think it's a disgrace for the city. It should be picked up, and whoever's responsible for it either pay for it or whatever. Is it vacated permanently, or?
I don't know, we're aware of the problem. Let me say it, we're aware of the issue. So, I hope you'll see some visible change soon. That's as much as I can say right now.
Okay. Next meeting, I'll be here.
Fair enough. You're always here.
Further public comments?
Hey there, Dr. Nicholson. I just have a question about something that happened in the last meeting, which is there was some debate about appointing a new legal representation for the city, and then ultimately we decided to retain 2 lawyers. And Brian, you made a comment that we're not incurring additional costs just by retaining 2 people. But based on your comments there and for a request, The cost for Dennis is a $3,000 retainer plus $200 an hour. The cost for the new lawyers is $295 an hour for a lawyer, $225 an hour for a paralegal. And so it just seems to me that we're going to end up spending more if we have to use the new lawyers for anything. And we're also paying a retainer to Dennis for his services, presumably at these meetings. So it seems like we're going to end up paying more for, for having two lawyers. That's all.
Okay.
I don't believe so, Josh. We're retaining two lawyers, and I think for myself, I appreciate Dennis's participation at this table. I also appreciate his history with the city of Eastport. We have some other legal issues that Brian has been working on that we're not totally happy with what we're getting from Dennis, so we're looking at exploring other avenues, but I don't see the cost being an exorbitant amount of money to not warrant, to allow our manager to do his job correctly.
All right, although, I mean, I guess the obvious question there is that if we're not happy with the way that Dennis is representing the city legally, then why are we retaining him at all?
No
It's
one
a-
person can be an expert in every field. By employing a company that has several lawyers with specialties in various areas, we're able to get more specific areas in specific questions.
So it is.
So it is going to
So it
cost
is going to
more.
cost more, yeah. Now we're talking
Oh,
about multiple.
we're probably going to be spending more on legal, but it's not because of retaining more lawyers. It's because we have a backlog of legal things that need to be attended to. And that's where I need, so if you're concerned, if we'll be milling more hours, yeah. And you'll see I intend to stay within budget this year, and I've increased legal in the draft budget by $1,000 for next year because of that. But it's not, we just need more legal representation with some deeper knowledge in certain areas. At least that's my belief.
And we've always had other counsel when there was an area that needed specialized services.
Okay, that was not really how it was presented at the last meeting, so it really wasn't clear that we'd be retaining additional counsel for special matters rather than changing the city's.
I think it's fair to say we came out of that meeting with a slightly different result than we came into it with. And I'm sorry if that was confusing for you, but that, no intention of deception. We just changed our course somewhat.
Thank you. Further public input? Yep.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Bernie Balbatoon. I live in Eastport. Throughout 2025, the Maine ACLU uncovered widespread use of local tax dollars being used by city and state police departments to conduct federal immigration enforcement, otherwise known as ICE. In response, Maine passed a bill called LD 1971 in June of 2025, that's last year. The new law prohibits state and local police from, quote, investigating, interrogating, detaining, detecting, stopping, arresting, or searching a person for immigration purposes. The law also prohibits police from complying with ICE hold requests as well as border patrol and performing other immigration enforcements. My question to the city is, what is the plan to update the training of Eastport Committee on LD 1971?
That would be more of a question for the police chief than the council,
I
I think.
don't have any control over police training, so I can't speak to that question. I can't. I am by charter not permitted to interfere with the business of the personnel of the police department. I can speak to the chief, but I don't have any special knowledge on that.
So are you saying Eastport Police Department operates completely independently from the city?
That's not what I said, no.
Okay, but who does oversee Eastport Police?
I oversee the chief of police. The chief of police oversees the police department.
Okay,
But I cannot interfere with the operations of the police department by charter.
Okay, so what is the plan though? Do they have a plan?
Again, I will have to speak to the police chief.
Thank you. Further public input? Hearing none, we'll close the public open forum. Item 5, 5A is to approve Kamala Deshane, Sarah Mutter, Ella Cole as signatures on the city bank account with the first.
I'll make
Yes,
that
in
motion.
January, we named them as deputies, and we neglected to give them the ability to sign. We require this for our internal controls, so that we have multiple people signing things. And just as we reassign these roles, we neglected we had to put them as signatories and forgot that we need to approve that.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Roll call, please, Sarah.
Dana Cummings?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
Boone?
Yes. 5B, discussion of bid, sale of 2009 Sterling SL 7500 dump truck. I believe we received 2 bids.
Yeah, some of the bids here, we opened them as publicized on Thursday of last week. 2 bids. First bid of Earl Small, 19 Evans Street in Eastport, $5,160. Bid number 2, Jeff Morrison of Morrison Manufacturing Services, $2,500.
Was there a minimum bid?
No.
No.
No, this is our older dump truck, and actually right now it's as is where it's. It has some issues with moving right now.
So one bid actually made a comment about they would take it where is, as is, and offered to take it off. The second one gave no mention to that. Is
But
the
that was
requirement?
the terms of the bid. They would have to.
Okay. I move to accept Earl Small's bid of $5,160 for the 2009 Sterling SL 7500 dump truck.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Roll call, please, Sarah.
Dana Cummings?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
Boone?
Yes. 5C, discussion of bid sale of 9 Boynton Street, tax maps I7-0C4-03, Bournemouth Senior Center.
Same thing, we opened these on Thursday. There were 3 bids. Suing Dan Roca, 103 Water Street, bid $25,000. Bethany Gilliam of 93 8 Rod Road in Augusta bid $5,555. And Alicia McDonald of 37 Adams bid $20,000. The council did request or offer to let bidders express interest in what they might want to do with the property. I believe that's in your packet. I haven't looked at those myself. We just council also requested the assessment report for the property. And I'll just point out, of course, the assessment, the assessed value is actually probably how shall I put this? Because all of our properties are undervalued at this point, this property is also undervalued. The state would say we're undervalued by 50 to 60%, so it's only 50 to 60% of its value. Having said that, because this is a city property, I don't believe it's been reassessed anytime in recent memory, so I don't know
And
how
the
much.
bids are well below what the value of the property is.
Just as it's posted in that, yes.
What's it costing us to keep the building right now?
Not much. It's disconnected, so it's just sitting cold and dark. It's the prime. It'd be great to get taxes from it again, but we haven't for a long time. And we're not aware of. I mean, the roof is good, that we know, and we're not planning to do any other maintenance on it in the short term.
I'd like to see us wait a little, maybe till spring, to put it back out.
I'm inclined to agree, given the disparity between the value and the highest bid.
Just the one disclosure we were able to make on the building is the energy audit that we had received, which I believe you guys had seen. It was a year ago or something like that. And it has significant deficits. I'll just point that out. But I'm not a structural engineer nor an assessor, so I can't speak to how it affects the value.
You might want to list it come spring if you're not going to accept any of the bids. Bidding tends to get lower prices than listing.
Agreed, and we could offer a clean title, unlike some of our other city properties.
Well, yes, we could offer clean title. This gets our clean title regardless, yes, so. That's right, Dennis, right? There's probably, and so long as we think it's clean, yes. Yeah. You'll do a title search anyway, but,
Right.
yeah.
The city's owned it for long enough that it
Yeah.
probably is going to, even if there were problems to begin with, they're long gone.
Yeah. We can give a release deed instead of a quick claim to be picky about it, yes.
Do I have a
So
motion?
a motion to reject all bids and put it out listed with a realtor come spring? I don't know how you want to word it.
That's fine with me.
Or do we table the bids and then how do we do, I'm with you, how do we do this?
Let me just suggest that we have bank checks on, for deposits for whoever has it. So I think if you're not intending to accept the bid tonight, unless, but it seems to me you want to be able to return those. So I would say you should just reject your bids, and then you can make a decision tonight or at another meeting, how you want to try to dispose of the property.
So Colleen made the motion to reject the bids and put it up to a realtor for sale.
Yes.
I'll second that motion.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? I tend to agree with the motion that I think we should be able to do a little bit better price-wise, and I think this is a bad time to sell, in my opinion. So,
If I may, maybe I'll just, it might be cleaner if this motion is just to reject all bids. I have an immediate question as we need to talk about how we would select a realtor. We have a realty policy that's in legal review right now, but that's for foreclosed property, and that was random assignment. We need to discuss if that's how we want to handle this property, which again has actually more, it comes with a clean title and some other things. So I have no problem saying we should seek out a realtor, but maybe my suggestion would be we merely reject bids today and then I come back to you next month with a proposal about how we list it. Right? We're not in any rush to list it next week.
It's not costing us.
Yes. So if we just keep it simple for now.
if you rescind your second,
I will rescind my second.
rescind your motion. Do I have a new motion?
I motion to reject the bids offered for the former senior citizen center at 9 Boynton Street.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing and roll call, please, Sarah.
Dana Cummings?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
Boone?
Yes. 5D, Fiber Committee disband, not active.
So, yeah, I have a point on this that was brought up to me by Elaine Abbott. There is actually still a subcommittee of this committee, the Digital Equity Committee. I would in the future recommend that the council not approve subcommittees for exactly this reason. It's kind of confusing. I think it would be, the Fiber Committee's work is done. The Digital Equity Committee is essentially, there's approximately $8,000 in grant and match funds that were obtained for bringing fiber to Eastport. And that committee has been overseeing or making suggestions about how to expend that money. They haven't met for a while. They tend to meet quarterly. Elaine said it was about time they would meet again. So they have a clearly defined mission, which is to manage that money. So I would just recommend when you move to disband the Fiber Committee, maybe just add language that says retaining the Digital Equity Committee as it stands. And I think that's sufficient. There's no other provision for, otherwise we keep the Fiber Committee around as this kind of zombie because the digital equity is attached to it. I don't think that's necessary.
So I move to disband the Fiber Committee, maintaining the Digital Equity Committee as is. Yeah.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please, Sarah.
Dana Cummings?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
Boone?
Yes. 5E, Economic Development Committee disband, not active.
And I'll just add to this, I think it might be a good idea to consider having an economic development committee going forward if there are people who are interested. I've spoken to at least one person who would like to do that, but I've said, as we've said, let's know what we're asking them to do and what we expect them to deliver. As currently constituted, it hasn't met for ages. So cleanest now to disband it. We can always bring it back if we want to.
I move to disband the Economic Development Committee.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Dana Cummings?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
Boone?
Yes. 5F, appointment of Kevin Ray to the Budget Committee.
Yes, you should have a letter from Kevin, and he would be,
And this is one of the yearly appointments that we can do as a
this
council.
is, yeah, so this is one of those yearly ones that would still be the core of, it gets confusing now. We need a core of 5. He becomes the 5th if we name him. So he, but because we've already handed out 3-year and 2 years, we give him a 1 year and move on from there.
Okay. I move to accept Kevin Ray.
Kevin wants to make sure you know he registered to vote in Eastport today. So he's officially a resident.
That's a bonus.
Yeah.
I move to accept Kevin Ray's appointment to the Budget Committee.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Perhaps this is our birthday present for him?
Yes. Welcome to your retirement. Here's some more work for you.
Roll call, please, Sarah.
Dana Cummings?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
Boone?
Yes. 5G, request from Joe Loudon, 2026 festival dates. She did text me earlier today, wanted to know if she could be absent this meeting, and I said I didn't see why she could not be. The places were, the dates were pretty crystal clear. I didn't see any confusion with any other activities going on. Here. Oh, just as presented, I guess, the dates.
Want me to hear? I got him.
I got it right here. I mean, I just didn't know it. I guess the motion would be just to accept the dates for the, does she have the? She's
She's got 4 there.
Yeah, got 4 different dates. Or as presented. Discussion or motion on the appointment of the request from Joan Loudon?
I'll just add, I'm grateful to have the dates and the details on the dates so far in advance.
I'll make a motion that we approve these dates. You want the dates just said out loud or just as attached? As attached.
Yeah, actually, this is for the benefit of the audience. So it's Down East Pride, Sunday, June 28th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mermaid Festival, Saturday, August 1st. Actually, the times, I don't know if we usually set them, we just take the dates. The Salmon Festival, September 4th through Monday, September 7th. And Witches of Eastport on Saturday, October 31st. Those are the dates.
Do we have a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Funny how she put witches on Halloween.
Yeah, they got it on the weekend this year.
That's going to be a busy day.
Yeah, it is. No further discussions. Roll call, please, Sarah.
Dana Cummings?
Yes.
Stevens?
Abstain.
Seeley?
Yes.
Boone?
Yes. 5H, Perpetual Care Lot, Bayside West Lot, number 43, WAS, $300, Mary Kessler Wilson. So,
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please, Sarah.
Dana Cummings?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
Boone?
Yes.
Actually, if I can, we can give them signatures on that. I got that. Yeah, I actually gave you a copy.
5I, request to put out to bid the High Street Sidewalk Project on 2/12/26, tomorrow.
Haven't we done this?
No, we haven't put it out to bid, so we haven't.
I feel like we talk about it every
We do.
meeting.
It's been quite a production. We completed right-of-way clearance finally in November. We thought we had it completed, and then I was pointed out that a property had changed hands, and I had to go re-obtain it, and we did. The engineers have been sitting on the plans for this for a year and a half now, something like that. And so this is now the formal process of putting this project out to bid. The engineers have the bid package, they have the announcement. It goes basically to the Maine DOT website and to our website, pending, I'm going to see how long the notice is. We may also publish it in a newspaper, but we're looking for contractors, and they'll be looking at the state site primarily. Any questions will go to the engineers. I'm proposing that you make the bids due at noon on March 11th, which is the day of our next meeting. And we'll open them here. These are bids that by law you have to accept the lowest bid because it's considered a commodity, I guess, for this building. Or you have to reject all bids. And we talked about that in the past. I'll have all those numbers ready for you. We set $140,000 aside for the local match on this, and I will recalculate what that means and what that means when the bids come in. If you choose to reject all bids, that's a whole nother Pandora's box. We'll open that day, but hopefully they'll come in at this point. So we just need you to go ahead and put it out there.
I move to request a bid, to put out the bid for the High Street sidewalk project.
Can you say, on February 12th?
On February 12th, 2026.
Due noon, March 11th.
Due noon, March 11th.
Thank you.
Pull the string.
I'll second it.
Do I have a second?
AJ did.
Oh, I didn't hear you, sorry. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call please, Sarah.
Dana Cummings?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
Boone?
Yes. 5J, letter of intent for application for working waterfront access protection program, 26D Cove, tax map H4, OD202.
So I was approached by Earl Small and Richard Sheriff through Tabitha Young. This is the public dock project that's been discussed for some time out on Deep Cove Road, that little spit of land that people can turn around on. I'm not going to rehearse the history. I don't know all of it. Actually, I learned more of it today than I had ever realized was out there, so I'll leave it at that. The immediate intention here is to try to find funds that can help construct the project. This particular, let me start out. This is a letter of intent for application. The purpose of this letter is to say to the state, we're interested in doing this, and this is what we're able to do. And then the state can come back and say, yes, you may apply, or no, you may not. The letter is due in March. The application is due in June. So if there's any questions or qualms about the grant, we are not applying for the grant at this point. We are merely asking the state if we can apply for the grant.
But we have to turn the land over to someone?
No, but they put a covenant on it, which is essentially an easement. Dennis can explain to you why it's not an easement, but it's like an easement, to preserve the property for commercial maritime uses. The covenant is purchased by the state, so the state will own a covenant on the property, and it has to be used for commercial maritime uses henceforth. The state, under this program, provides up to half the value of the property, and the property would need to be reassessed, so I can't tell you exactly how much that would be to them.
Is this going to be another thing that 3 years down the road, oh, by the way, the sidewalk thing?
No, there's no additional cost. As a matter of fact, this is not a grant program. What's kind of interesting about it, first of all, municipalities and private people can apply for these. And I meant to ask the state, they had mentioned at some point there might be a covenant under this program in the city already. I don't know for whom or where, but I meant to follow that up. I did not. They hand you this money, so long as that money is used for the purpose. I mean, you can use that money for almost any purpose you want to, and there's no match. They just basically, it's in a way similar to land trust stuff for preservation, right? Where the state will pay money to take land out and let it continue to be preserved. This is kind of in the other direction, where it's intended to help preserve working waterfronts in the face of rising property values and running out of space.
In general, isn't our waterfront owned by the port?
This one is not, and that's an interesting question, sort of policy-wise, because technically we've sold all these things over to the port, but we own this property. So.
And we would continue to own it.
We would continue to own it. And the intention right now, the project that have been asked to present here is to put a new public landing in because of the issues with the public landing here, crowded and cruise ships and everything else. I know from informal discussion, not everyone is thrilled with this location. It doesn't have parking and some other things, but you're out of my depth at this point. The city is merely committing, saying that we are interested in the program and are intending to apply. There's no obligation to apply.
Does this mean, apparently the land was given over in 2017 for
This I don't-
First Perry, whatever?
This I don't know, because that's Jerry Morrison, right? So this is between two pieces of his property. You should have a map in there that shows this. And ours is there. And this, I've been told there was some history to that. I can't tell you what it is, though, at this point. I wasn't here.
Jerry, would you have any comments or concerns or?
No, I think it's good that we have more working waterfront. The only concern being a budding property owner, I'm just wondering about the parking, because there isn't much space out there. But we did donate that to the city, along with some funds to develop that just for this purpose.
75,000, right?
I think it's, yeah, 60 to 75. I don't remember the exact number now, that's quite a while ago. But yeah, that was the intent, because we were focused on the ramp. We needed some more public access for that area, so we donated that for public access. So, with that being said, my only concern is about the parking, because originally we thought we was going to use the airport side for parking, so we just like to be able to see the plans and how it's all going to come together out there.
And I know there are some plans. I don't have all that detail in front of me right now.
Well, I think that would have to come out if they were allowed to apply for the grant
Right.
and they decide to move forward. I think that they're going to have to provide aerial shots of where the parking's going to be, how many parking spots are going to be required, and all of that. I mean,
And if you need more property, I'm willing to work with it to make it happen.
oh, another donation. Thanks.
Well, if you want to reduce my taxes.
It was a thought, Jerry, but thank you. But I think there'll be a lot more coming out as time progresses. This is just to get their foot in the door, see if they can even apply.
This is basically just a way to get hands on money. I don't know if there's enough to build it with. We don't even know what this will result in.
Yeah.
But it's another attempt to.
So is this going to be one of, I don't fully understand this, I'm trying to get my brain around it, so I'm sorry. So if they grant the money, is this going to be, oh, we've granted, I'm worried about the sidewalk situation. Are we going to wind up in like this?
They're buying rights from us. The state is buying rights.
But if they're buying rights from us, then we no longer own it.
Nope, that's not true. That's different. The same way when you think of an easement, that lets somebody else go over your property because there's a rule there. This is not exactly an easement, but it's the same idea. The state, if you wanted to change the purpose of this, this will be filed with the Registry of Deeds, just like an easement. And if it's an inappropriate use that you're changing it to. So I would put that in there. If you think there are other better purposes for this property that might not fall under a working waterfront definition, then we shouldn't apply for this because we are giving up those rights at this point. The state actually has the right of first refusal should you decide to sell the property, and that's to protect their covenant. That if you want to save it, they get to stop and say, hey, what are you using it for before you can sell it. If we have no intention of selling this and we want it to operate in perpetuity as a public dock, none of this is an issue. And these are all excellent questions to ask before we actually submit a grant, an application for this program. But this has to be, and if for some reason you don't want to take action tonight, we actually have until March 9th. The problem is that's 2 days before our next meeting, which is why I'm bringing it forward today.
The required match for the grant will come from the remaining value of the property after the covenant.
Okay, sorry, let me explain that.
I don't want to get us screwed.
No, you're absolutely right, I'm sorry. I am oversimplifying. Yes, if you were looking to purchase property to do this, or if you were a private entity, then you would not be, you would have to show that you had skin in the game as well. You weren't giving it to the state, but you're saying, I'm going to take $40,000 from this program to build my new processing plant. I'm going to also put $40,000 into the processing plant too. That's
So
what
there
that-
is a matching part of it.
You're right, there is a matching part, but in our case, we can just say, you're going to give us half the value of the property, and we're going to match it with the other half the value of the property, because we're now using it for this purpose. That is a little bit weird, but it is a provision. I actually met with this woman, Melissa Bridge, in Machias a couple weeks ago. There was a resiliency workshop, and I sat down and talked through her with all of this. And in any case, if you're concerned there, but that is what that means. It's essentially, we're not going to use this property for anything else. We're going to use it all for working for waterfront. You're going to buy the easement for half the value, and we're going to contribute it to this purpose, but we're not giving up title to the property. Am I making sense to you, Dennis?
Yes.
Okay.
So this will be fully public. We're not going to run into anything
Oh,
of...
God, no. Well, the letter is public, and again, by the time we get to the application, we'll want to see the application before it goes in. You'll have to approve the application, and that will come in June, probably.
Not sure I 100% understand, but that's me.
No, I'm happy to try again.
I think a lot more will come out once.
So right
if
now,
we're
all
allowed
we're
to.
asking for is, they are asking for permission to go forward with this process.
Yes, they're asking to go forward with just this letter of intent. The state will read this. Now, so if you see in the letter of intent, we state that we own the property. We're willing to permanently encumber the development rights in a working waterfront covenant. That means any development on this property has to be for the purposes of a working waterfront, which I can get you the long definition of that from the state. But that's what we're saying. We own this property. Right now, we can do anything we want with it within our zone. This is going to say it has to be restricted to working waterfront purposes. We then describe what our intended working waterfront purpose is, which is a new public boat landing.
Okay.
That's what they want to know. Because if we said, no, what we're going to do is, build a casino, they're going to say, yeah, no, actually, that's not working waterfront. We're going to say no to that. And then we give them just enough information to see where we're doing it and the general idea. And the outcome of this letter is a letter back from the state that says, yeah, cool, you can apply, or no, don't bother.
Okay.
And that's the extent of our obligation.
Okay.
And then in the application process is where you're going to see the diagram, the layout, the parking,
Yeah.
the cost, if there is any, and where it's going to come from.
Yeah. And that's where we might cross some other questions I've got at this point, which is if this turns out, if we actually don't quite have enough funds at this point to complete the project, is that an issue for the state? Or is it one of those things where we'll continue to seek other funds until we can put it together? And then what happens if you have trouble? We'll cross all those bridges later, and that's more where Jerry's questions will be answered. Actually, a lot of Jerry's questions will come up before the planning board when it comes time to do the project. It'll actually be just that normal process.
Right. Also, just for a note, there is a place to launch the boat, just off to the side of that. It's posted, and you're welcome. I mean, I've had kayak people and tourists want to launch there, and there's no problem. The only issue I had was with the commercial fishermen that had boats anchored there, wanted to use it full time, and then I requested that I needed a little bit of money to cover the cost of maintaining it. That's where some of the friction started from. But
Maybe at some point, Jerry, I don't know any of this history, so maybe I can sit down with you. And you can
I'd love to
tell
sit
me
down and
about
discuss that with you and the history as well.
Okay.
Is that more the sandbar area to the right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in between the peninsula and 28 Deep Cove.
Yeah. Do I have a motion on 5J?
I'll make that motion.
That's to approve setting a letter of intent for the application for the Working Waterfront Access Protection Program.
Yes.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Roll call, please, Sarah.
Dana Cummings?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
Boone?
Yes. 5K, council approval of a proposed visitors code of conduct policy.
Again, apologies for the ambiguity of the title. This is one of those things I wish I didn't have to put forward. The policy, which is quite short, basically states how one should behave in public when working with City Hall, avoiding causing disturbances or disruptions, showing respect, using common courtesy, things you wouldn't think you'd need to write down. Unfortunately, we've had a pattern of several people not being able to behave in this way. And this came to a head actually while I was gone for a week, and a couple of things came up in my absence. I guess I'll come out and say this here. I mean, there are some people I really think should know better. Some gentlemen in particular who seem to feel like it's appropriate to berate and yell at women behind a window, but who stop when I walk in. It's embarrassing and upsetting. So, on the off chance that people need to be told what's appropriate, we've written it down. It also provides us with some cover. Should we find us in a situation where we need to invite someone to leave, we can state that we had code of conduct and that they were in violation of it. And that protects us should someone say that our choices are arbitrary or capricious. It's not ironclad, but it's certainly better than nothing. This has been, I don't know if we sent you, this is basically a composite and editing down of many other towns' similar codes.
Is it posted anywhere so that we can see it?
It will be once it's adopted.
Yeah, I don't like the word in visitors. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. I mean...
I don't know what else you could put in there, but...
Patrons.
There you go.
And I agree
Patrons.
with you. It's sad that we have to even come up with this policy, but our employees deserve to feel protected. The other thing is, I think, unfortunately, we need a panic button type system. So if somebody does come in there, they can hit that button and it secretly calls the police.
We can talk about that. Things have not risen to that level of threat since I've been here.
No, but I think it's a good precaution.
Raising of voices and insult and such, and it's just not acceptable.
So aside from changing visitors to patrons, does that work for you?
Public code of conduct, maybe? I don't know.
Oh, you mean in the actual title?
Yeah.
I think patrons would cover it because they're coming into
I like patrons.
facility.
I mean, to Jeannie's point, of course, the city cannot impose a code of conduct on everyone in town everywhere they go. Let's make that clear. We don't think we have that power. So I think you couldn't just say code of conduct. I think patrons is fine. I mean,
Or you could just say City Hall visitors code of conduct.
Well, I don't think this just applies to City Hall, though. Like, we got our plowers out there being intimidated. People are coming out while they're plowing. Right. Giving them the finger, being irate because they plowed in their dooryard. I mean, what do you want them to do, pick up the plow and go around the other way?
That's exactly what they do in Route 1.
So anyway,
so I mean, the title functions. So if someone's on the website, they can look at it and they have some idea of what it means. It doesn't really carry any weight. So I mean, I feel fine with patrons. This is a policy. Should you go home tonight and have an epiphany that it should have a different name, you can always amend it. Clearly, visitors is unclear. So I accept anything, but I'd be happy with patrons.
Do you think this is enough, Brian?
It's a start. We're going to see what we go on from here. But very much like some of the other policies we've had to introduce where you may not think it was anything you had to write down. At least we're writing it down. Like I said, I have only once had to invite someone to leave the building. And it went, once I did, they left. So it's not gotten any worse than that. And we do have the police next door, whether we have a button or not. I certainly, it's not an idle threat that we can go get the police. But I've never had to do that. We have had some situations with public works where that has been an issue. But, again, at the very least, if somebody's misbehaving, I can at least hand them this rather than lecturing them, right? That's the other thing. If I sit there and tell someone how to behave, they'll lose their mind. But I can say, look, we've adopted this is what's expected. Please read this in return. Make it back. It's not a panacea.
It's too bad we couldn't add elected officials to this policy because we've certainly taken our share. But nonetheless,
Yes.
I think if we just change it to patrons, and I would encourage all citizens we're all doing the best we can for you. Not everybody's happy with the way things are. Many times I hear the same complaint, well, 20 years ago it was this way. Well, 20 years ago, there was a lot of things differently. Things are changing. We can't control everything. We're trying to do our best, and our employees at City Hall do their best daily. And I feel very bad that people have to take the frustration out on them. So
Yes, that's unacceptable.
it is. So,
I move to accept the City of Eastport Patrons Code of Conduct Policy,
Just to be technical, you're adopting it.
adopting it.
I'll second that.
been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call please, Sarah.
Dana Cummings,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Seeley,
Yes.
Boone.
Yes. 5L, submission of fiscal year 2027 budget by city manager.
So you guys could have the one-page summary in there, plus you'll have a copy of the slides I'm about to go through. Sarah, I'm going to attempt to share here. There. Same request. So I appear to be sharing. So there we go. Look at all that crap. That will do. Let's see if I can get that gets in the way. Well, there we go. All right, thank you. So by charter, the city manager is enjoined to present a draft budget at the February meeting. That's what I'm doing today. With council's toleration. The budget itself is, I believe, fairly straightforward for this year. I'll hit that right there. I'm going to take some time trying to put the budget in context. And what I mean by that is, you know, ever since I've been city manager, well, ever since I've lived here, you'll hear people say the taxes are too high or we can't afford this. And I've been saying for a while in this meeting, I'm trying to put some numbers on that. I'm a numbers guy. I like being able to quantify what's going on with the pattern of taxation. What has changed? What do we have control over? What don't we have control over? I'm sorry. I want to stop for one thing here. We are missing a budget. We are missing an agenda item. Alan, I'm sorry. We were supposed to have a discussion item on here for you. And we did not. Before I jump into this, with council permission, we discussed food truck stuff last week, and I met with Alan. With your permission, let me address that before I jump into the budget. You should have a document in your packet. So Alan and William appeared at our last meeting. They're working on a food truck that William's hoping to use around town. And we got talking about the ordinances involved. I wasn't terribly, none of us were terribly well versed with it.
Brian, before you go much further, can I get a motion to amend the agenda?
Oh, I'm
Add
sorry.
to
Yes.
5M.
I move to add 5M, talk of the mobile vending unit policy ordinance.
Yes.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call please, Sarah.
Dana Cummings,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Seeley,
Yes.
Boone.
I don't
Yes.
see it in here. You sent it to us.
Oh,
Send it on
that's
that
right.
email. I got an email.
Yes, you sent it to us.
So the reason I wanted to make sure we discuss this is there's a specific issue with Alan and William that I believe the current ordinance prohibits. And the question is, will council want to attempt to amend the ordinance or not? And if so, what process to take? I also have come up with a couple of concerns I have about it, which makes me think we should be talking about some sort of modification to the ordinance. I'm not suggesting we try to do that, propose that amendment tonight, but I figured we should talk about it tonight. So, and Alan and William, tell me if I'm summarizing your situation incorrectly, but you guys are pretty much okay with everything that's in there, except that you were hoping to be able to operate the food truck on your property 1 or 2 days a year. A week, sorry.
A couple days a week, because the only place available is the 2 dirt lots down by the post office.
Correct.
And I can give you a copy of this if you want to read, like your suggestions that you put, this is
Yeah.
your paper, to them, not suggestions,
Oh, I got that. I mailed that to them.
because the ending of that letter, it kind of described it.
So as written, so it's the mobile vending unit ordinance, they call it, but it's a food truck. Is very specific that you can operate on private land, but it has to be in a B1 or B2 district, which is
very
downtown
narrow
and the
and
190 corridor. And it's unambiguous on that point. So the first thing I wanted to put out there, if council was interested in trying to accommodate this request, we'd have to talk about how we would put that together. It would have to come to public hearing, and I imagine, so I ran into Michael Morse at the planning board meeting today, and he was involved in the drafting of this.
Okay.
And I don't think it's any surprise. The requirement to have a victualer's license and a bunch of the other terminology in there was intended, he said, at least in his opinion, to help protect the brick and mortar owners downtown. They're invested in real estate, they're paying taxes for that. They didn't want people being able to overwhelmingly compete with them. The intention of keeping the B1 or B2 zone was that was the easiest place to put it rather than because you wouldn't open up a can of worms about putting it, next to other residents and whatnot. So the first thing I guess I would put to you is if anybody on council is interested in pursuing that, the ordinance process requires a councilor to bring an order together, or it needs to be petitioned by the people.
Did they all read it? You emailed it to them, did they get it? Or-
Yeah, you guys got it last
I
week.
did.
I read through it.
Yeah. And now Alan has pointed out, now if you have the power to do anything you want, I made a fairly elaborate proposal because if you were concerned about butters or anything else, you could have a whole thing. You could have just take the language right out. It's your call. But again, that would come to public hearing and people will get to express an interest, and I imagine the planning board would probably take an interest. Right now, a mobile vending unit actually has to obtain, if they're going to function outside of a festival or event, they actually have to obtain a victualer's license and then a mobile vending unit license. And a victualer's license requires a public hearing. So anyone who wants to operate a food truck has to get put on the agenda. We have to notify it.
Last year, it was basically, if it was under a festival, it was like hands off. They get to do whatever.
So the intention was, so our vendor and peddlers ordinance is in suspension on events. So we don't, and this is a bigger topic actually, but it's kind of a little interesting to me how hands-off the city is on events.
Yeah.
We really step completely away. There's an error, according to Michael, in the mobile vending unit ordinance. He said, well, you don't have to have it if you're at an event. And so, yes, you do. The exception in the ordinance says you don't need a victualer's license. So that additional requirement goes away. But the ordinance as written says you need to have a mobile vending unit license to
Which we
operate
don't
even
do.
during a festival, which means coming before you, because only you can award it. So at the very least, we might want to discuss, obviously it's not how we're operating, let's just acknowledge
Right.
that. This has not been enforced for at least it hasn't been enforced since I've been here. I was hoping to enforce it this year because it's been inequitable that I've not been doing so, but there were other priorities. Yeah, this is where it comes. It's a question of policy for the council. Should you determine there are things you want to do, I'm happy to help draft language and walk you through it. But my role in this was just to do a close reading of what was going on and to see what we had there. Have I missed anything you wanted to add, Alan?
Yeah, just when I first called, we went to the vendors, they gave me the stuff for the vendors. Nobody knew about this one, right? The mobile.
Yeah, so the vendors and peddlers ordinance is about stuff, not food. And yeah, one of the things we're working on, Bertie left, I can't speak to the police, but within City Hall, we're finally getting all our training up to speed, and eventually we'll be putting training in for ordinances and everything for anyone who works at the window. But right now, have you guys read all the ordinances?
No.
Yes, exactly, so that's the problem.
But it sounds like we need to work on this one.
Yeah, and I don't think we could you could certainly put food trucks under vendors and peddlers and throw away the mobile vending unit
And
ordinance.
it's trailer, not a truck, right? It's food trailer, not a truck, right?
I'm not sure that really makes a difference.
Well, it's called, the phrase in the ordinance calls it self-contained, but it doesn't define self-contained. So the unit you're cooking in.
The health department does.
Oh, they do?
Yes.
Okay.
Self-contained means everything has to be made and prepared inside. You can't cook a sauce inside your house and
Okay.
everything, let's say with the pizza,
Yeah.
the dough, everything has to be made inside the trailer, so we got the mixer and everything.
Because that's what's been approved by the state.
Yeah, by the state health department. But the only thing was the B1 and the B2. When I asked if we could do it in the beginning, that's when I got the vendor. That's why she said, oh, you don't have to fill out an application, they just got to approve it. That was the last.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We apologize for that, but unfortunately,
If I would have knew B1 or B2, one, would have, I have built it when I thought with the vendors that it says that you can do it in the country as long as you get a copy of the plot plan and the signature. But like a lot of people said, they probably did that to keep away from the restaurants 150 feet.
I believe as I wrote in there, well, if you're, for argument's sake, adapting an existing building to a restaurant in an R2 zone is a potential special exception. So the zoning ordinance does not rule out the possibility that someone might be serving food in an R2 zone. But again, that would be something that would have to be hashed out. So I guess, I don't think there's any action to take tonight. There's no formal action to take tonight. I guess I would suggest, I don't know, at this point, I think Alan needs to speak with you guys to see if anyone among you wants to bring forward something as his representative. And I'm happy to work with the three of you if we want to do a workshop here, whatever. But I'm sorry we can't make it easier for you, but I don't get to change the ordinances.
Yep.
All right. Anything else? Rhonda will get in touch with you and we'll sit down and write some language. Okay.
I know where you live.
All right, thank you. I apologize for that. I don't know how we missed that. I'm sorry we made you wait all the way to the end, or not quite the end.
We just got to list them. So we'll wait on that and see what comes up on that.
Yeah.
That's the last time they said, meet with you, go over a couple discussions, bring it back to them so they can figure something out. So now they'll figure something out.
I mean, we're learning, we're negotiating what our rules are.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that we stated them incorrectly at the beginning. The people at the window
But it's
didn't
going to
know.
affect our festivals up and down the calendar.
Well, that's the thing, that we definitely need to fix, because I imagine and I don't want to talk too much about the port tonight, the port and the cruise ships are another issue. So there's a lot to talk about here, actually. And, I mean, we can, I'm just spitballing here. We might want to talk about if we can define well how we want this year to work. We could certainly try to draft essentially a bridging ordinance that would be much simpler than this, that we could work with, and then over time, it is already February. But you're going to need to amend it. That's all I can see. Amend or repeal it.
And you said this is the first one. There was no previous.
That I don't know. Nobody else. We barely know about this one, frankly. Right? We're trying. I learned about it last year, but there's nobody. I actually did not ask Ella. I can ask Ella if she remembers the previous one. But as far as I know, I believe this was the first thing. The way Michael Moore spoke of it, they had brought.
Do you remember one, Dennis?
I think this was a new thing.
In 2022, so it's not super new, but yeah. Okay, I'll make a note to make sure Rhonda and I connect, and we'll figure out what to do.
Well, we can add it to what I need to meet with you next week anyway.
That's right. Okay.
Al and William, have either of you approached the Port Authority about using the lot here or the breakwater?
Well, now he said to the thing saying they can't either, right?
Well, they can, but they have to have they haven't had a license in the past.
So you would need, so you can speak with the port, that's private land. So long as you fulfill the requirements of the ordinance to give a plot of where you're going to be and everything, that's all fine. You still need your licenses, but you can operate on port property if you want to. You can't, but you have to get express permission and say that that's where you're operating.
Yeah. And the main thing was trying to stay in the middle of town, you know, the different neighbors and stuff. It's not going to be like a big moneymaker or something like that, but just so it was a couple days a week maybe at the house and then different places and stuff. All of us was going and stuff like that.
I think the biggest thing that I got out of reading that last night, Al, number one, I disagree that we only have two city lots. We got the senior center, that has a big parking lot. We would actually,
the ordinance states that the available city property and the senior center, is the senior center in the B1, B2?
No.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't think it's in the B2. So we have some other property, but as written right now, it's restricted to those two lots in the back.
Okay. That was one issue. The other one, if you had it at your house, how do we combat the parking? Say that there's 5 people parking on the side of the road now waiting, or hopefully more. But how do we address that?
If it got too big, then we couldn't do it. You know, we understand that.
Yeah, and I don't know.
Usually,
Yeah, if you're not going to offer a place for them to sit and eat, it's going to be a short term.
Right.
yeah.
But-
I'll also point out if it's in an R2 zone, that would be great. But right now, the ordinance says you can operate from 7 in the morning till 10 at night.
Right.
That's okay down here probably, but you probably want to add language if you were going to permit it somewhere else.
But I just wasn't sure whether or not you had approached the port director about maybe utilizing this lot, because it was before, and they have done the barbecue up there, and when the cruise ships are in, they're really looking for vendors down here. So I just didn't know whether it was just a question. And I'm not saying that we don't want you, it might help move it along.
Brian, and he said, even a port can't, with all their trailers and stuff, can't do it, right? Because
They can't do it, they have to do it, they have to get the license and everything through us, but they can operate it on their property because they're in the B1 zone.
I was just trying to find a way to get it quicker, to get you moving. And nothing says you can't put it there, and 3 months from now, if we get all the ducks in order and you want to move over there, move over there.
So I think what I said about the port thing, Alan, is that even they should be getting these these licenses
Right.
as it's written right now. So it's certainly, we should probably consider, at least for the coming year, letting special events obviate the need for a vending license, unless you guys are really ready to commit to that. And then we need to talk with the port to make sure they're declaring their dates as events. And then we're in the letter of the law.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've got it. So I'm going to skip.
Well, they did that with their big ships last year. Their ships over 4,000, they declared event days.
That's right.
I think we only have 2 big ships coming in the summer.
Yeah, this is going to be a quiet year.
2027, I think that we didn't nail.
We want to be prepared for next year. Yeah.
We're batten down the hatches.
So we should probably fill out the application for all the paperwork to get the license. And
Yes.
work on the B1.
Yes.
B2, right?
Yes.
I would think.
I would recommend apply for your victular license, apply for the 365-day private property license, and then we'll figure out the best way we can accommodate you.
Because we're taxpayers too, just like the restaurants are, and some restaurants are just, but I wouldn't want it to be a nuisance if it would turned out to where it was like a nuisance or not good for the neighborhood. I would shut it down myself, would not want none of those people to, and put Rhonda right across the street. She'd be the first one.
My son's also a sheriff, not that I would mention that in any way.
I think she was looking for the free supper.
It's just nice to do a couple days at the house, because he's going to be doing it, I can be there, and see people in the water and stuff like that. Wouldn't be 5 days a week from till midnight or nothing like that. He's got to go to sleep at 8 o'clock. So.
But bear with us. I think we can get there.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
or hope so.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, back to
Now you're back to
little things like the budget.
little things.
So, yeah, I'm hoping this maybe will start a bigger conversation about how the budget works and whatnot. I'll probably do this again in May when we bring the real budget forward, but I'll be curious to know what people think about this. Here's the most important numbers that I'm bringing forward right now. You should have, those right in front of you there. So, the budget I'm bringing forward right now reduces municipal expenses by 1.1%, but we also see a decline in revenues and transfer of 2.8%. I'll explain that in a second. I am assuming school will come in at 5%. I am reasonably certain the school budget that will be presented tomorrow will be very, very high. And that's because, as Mary Ellen explains to me, her first budget is always basically just taking last year's budget and repricing it. That doesn't mean you can't change it or make it any different. I'm proposing 5%, which is about half again inflation, as a target for the school right now. The county amount is at 22.2%. Our county bill is actually $511,000. I'm hoping we'll get about 20 grand back on our prepayment. That number is still not baked in at the county yet, so I'm waiting on that. And then overlay, which is essentially what we can put into unassigned funds and whatnot going forward, I bumped a little bit because we have just the bare minimum, well, not quite the bare minimum, but not as much unassigned as I would like. And we also need to talk about rebuilding our capital fund after paying out there. All this together results in a 5.28% increase to the mill rate to $32 even. I just want to explain these top two numbers a little bit more because I didn't really cut so much out of municipal that it went down. What happened was, if you were here for last year's budget, the budget was complete with the budget committee when Ella got sick and Donnie resigned. And I panicked because we had no clerk. So I put an emergency item into the budget of $70,000 potentially to hire an interim clerk, and then matching $70,000 out of unassigned funds to match it up, so it didn't affect taxation. I'm not doing that anymore. So because I'm taking those two things out, both my expenses and my revenues went down. Another way of looking at it here, and this is probably more accurate, is municipal expenses are up 1.5%. And all I do is taking out that $70,000 thing. And revenues are up 3.3%, and we only have a tiny transfer. So you can look at it either way. I don't want his people running around saying, "Look what Brian did, he made government smaller." Yeah, no, he didn't. It's not very much larger, but it's a 1.5% increase. So I could stop right there. I presented the budget to you. I have a summary of the departments in front of you. We'll post all this tomorrow or Friday on the website so you can look at more detail. But I wanted to talk a little bit about this question of what have taxes done? The rise we had last year made a bunch of people pretty angry, and I was honestly kind of surprised. So I wanted to go back and answer for myself what's happened in recent memory with taxation. Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing here. This is a draft budget. There are a lot of moving parts that are not fixed yet, primarily probably the education local contribution. If they come in at 10% instead of 5%, that mill rate isn't going to be there anymore. I still have staffing adjustments. As you probably know, our treasurer will be leaving at the end of April. So how that plays out, we'll see. We're waiting on the final county tax bill. Revenue sharing, which is how the state gives us our cut of sales tax, you're going to see that's actually a very important number. Those estimates are not in yet, so I'm making an estimate that it's increasing by like 1.2%. Hopefully it will be bigger than that, and that will help us. And we'll talk about valuation as well. The actual valuation of real estate, including any new buildings since last tax year and any adjustments, those won't be completed until after April 1st. I also want to say this is a conservative budget, by which I mean I did everything I could to try to keep the mill rate low in this. This is not a Christmas list budget where I put in a bunch of stuff I'm expecting people to cut out. I would almost call this a best case budget. That may be overstating it. But I want to put that out there, that there are some decisions in there in Budget Committee I'm going to talk about that I'm saying, it's keeping things about the way they are. If you spend a little more money, that might be good. But given the pressure I've received in the last year, I've kept it as low as I can.
Can you tell me about the overlay? What is that used for?
So that is used for two things. It's essentially, okay, let me step back. On a municipal budget, I cannot spend over budget, over taxation, right? I tax for a certain amount. I can't spend more than that without actually coming back here and having them approve an additional supplemental tax bill. So I have to make sure I have enough wiggle room in my budget, right? If you have a personal budget, you set right there, you go a few bucks over, no big deal. I really can't. So what overlay does is it gives you a little bit of extra room. You say, okay, I've done the best budget I can. And then you put an additional number, in this case it's going to be about $70,000, that functions for two purposes. If any abatements come back, right, because of either mistakes or changes or misunderstandings on real estate, I won't make that taxation. But I need that taxation to execute on my budget, so I can take that out of overlay. The other thing it functions to do is to help build up our unassigned balance. We are required by policy to have between 11 and 14 weeks of taxation in our unassigned balance, in our bank account, in our surplus.
By what policy?
We passed it back. It's needed because tax bills go out in July. I start spending in July, but tax bills aren't due until October.
So why don't we fix that?
You-
You know, this has been a source of
That- no,
contention all the way through.
This is how it works. You can't put out your tax bills until you adapt your budget. Your budget usually gets adopted in June because you don't have all the numbers you need to adopt your budget until then. But would you like to get a tax bill on July 15th and be told it was due on August 1st? Because that would fix the problem.
That's what half the towns in the state do, Brian.
That's not true. We'll talk about that later.
We can talk
That's not
about
true.
that.
That's not true.
But what's the overlay?
So overlay that,
For a
it's an
buffer.
additional amount that added on to cover abatements and to help build unassigned funds.
So I know that you can expend that overlay, but who monitors what's being expended from that overlay?
Well, I mean, I do in the council, we sign every warrant. I'm empowered to spend up to $5,000 without previous approval, but I don't think I've ever gotten close to, well, I did Perkins Road, but that was an emergency, that's a different thing. You know what, if I may, Gene, I don't want to be here all night with this. I'm going to get all the way through my presentation, and I'll pick up questions at the end, because I've got a lot I'd like to cover until then.
Okay.
So, this is historical changes in mill rate, going back to fiscal year 19. Where we started at $26.80, and I'm proposing $32 down there at the bottom. Now, if you're mad at me about taxation, it's probably because of these 4 lines. Because in the last 4 lines, last 4 years, taxation's been going up.
Yep.
Now, and what you see on the right-hand column is accumulated change from 2018. So in other words, 2026, 27 taxes as proposed are 19.4% higher than 2018 taxes. The mill rate is 19% higher than it was in 2018. Now, why has it been going up? There's a bunch of reasons. I'm not going to try to justify them all. We'll go through them in painful detail in Budget Committee. County tax has gone up significantly in the last 5 years. Health insurance has gone up. 2 years ago, we had some major compensation adjustments that had to be done for a couple of employees, including my position. Rises in solid waste costs, utilities have gone up, construction, just cold patch has gone through. But there's also inflation. Inflation's really important. So, that's what inflation has done. That's the Consumer Price Index, cumulative from fiscal year 18 to 28% is an actual number, 32% is my projection if inflation comes in at 2.8% in this coming year. So from 2019 to now, or until the end of this fiscal year, let's go just to the end of the year. What, 28%? I want to be clear, anyone who's struggling to pay taxes, rails, I get it. Things are tough out there. That line is punishing, but it's what's been happening, and I think you can see the second, third, and fourth there, that's that COVID rise. You all remember that. And you see, it didn't slow down as much as you might have expected. It certainly never went back. Remember when they told us in COVID prices were going up, but they go back down again? Yeah, that didn't happen. They kept going up. That's a problem, but that's not my problem directly. I don't influence that. This is what your taxation has done. Your taxation in fiscal year 26, 2025, 26 is half of inflation in that time. The city has gone up half of inflation. It's a little bit higher now because I've got a 5% here. It's still 2/3, less than 2/3 of inflation in this coming year with my projected budget right now. Now, when I saw this, my first question is, how can this be possible? How did we perform so well? So my first question was, maybe we just actually spent less. We did not. Spending more or less tracks. To be clear, these are budgeted numbers, not actuals. So they lag a little bit on some things, but no, we've actually kept pace with inflation. So how is that possible? And I'll tell you, when I saw that, I immediately flashed on this graph. If you saw me at my county tax thing, this is the graph that showed that the county was spending all of its money. So I was slightly nervous. Those kind of look the same, don't they? But that's not what's going on. There's a lot of things going on that are helping us out with our taxation and have kept it well below inflation until now. So this is that same graph. That's CPI, that's mill rate, that's the total appropriation, total of what we spent. It's squeezed all the way down there now because this is the change in revenue. Revenue's gone through the roof. Last year's revenue, we started down in like 88,000, well, I'll show you there. But last year's revenue is $403,000 higher than it was in 2018. Now, that's not because we're selling a lot of stuff, right? That's not our business. Here's how that happens. This is what all of our budgeted revenues have been in that time. The orange bar is city, and everything else below that comes from the state in one way or another. So the city numbers are kind of interesting because there's a big bump in our revenue in 2020. I'm going to fiscal year 21, which I'm going to guess is related to COVID funding. I don't know. I haven't had a chance to go back. But between that, it's kind of hovered in this area between about $460,000 and $490,000. That is revenue share, the money that comes from the state to pay our portion of sales tax. It was $88,000 back then. It's $409,000 now. Well, you say, how does that at all? And just so, if you look at that pie chart represents the total increase in revenue since fiscal year 2019. That orange slice is what we have control over. All the rest of that is state. How is that possible? Well, I'll tell you why. They increased the amount of revenue sharing. I don't know if you guys knew this. If you did, you're wondering why I'm so surprised. But I did not know this. That going back, I don't know when this was passed, but the amount that the state put into the revenue sharing pool, let me be really precise, this isn't how much we get or anything else, it's how much goes into the pool and then they give it out. But the idea was they increased from 2% to 5% the amount that went into the local government fund. So that offsets an awful lot of our taxation by that $400,000. I feel like I'm obligated to point this out because when I worked on the county budget, I raked the state over the coals, and they deserved it there. They absolutely did. But right here, at least, Eastport at least, has been benefiting from that, and it's one of the major things that has kept our mill rate significantly below inflation. I also want to talk about valuation. So, anyone who's taken out a building permit or built a new building knows that you have to tell the city that you're doing it. Increase the value of your property and thereby your taxes. That's one of the ways that you build your tax base. So I'm going to give a better version of this graph in just a second. That blue, that's just how much, that's the taxable valuation that Eastport reports. This is not what we're actually worth. This may get complicated, and I hope I don't do that. We are undervalued, right? The average house in Eastport, according to the state, is going to be valued at about 50%, 56% of its actual market value right now. So these are our numbers that we use off of taxation, and they do not get adjusted by inflation. They don't rise as the value of property rises. It comes off of our calculations. So this shows that it looks pretty subtle. Let me do that. But if I chop the x-axis down a bit, so you can just see there, you can see it's been more or less consistently rising. For some reason, in fiscal year 24, there was a little dip. There was a relatively big leap last year, because Wes, our assessor, who had finally been on the job 2 years, had a stack of building permits like this that had never made it into the system. So some of that valuation really should have come in fiscal year 25, but we got it there. And that orange line just shows the percentage change from year to year. So it's not huge, but it's also not nothing. Our total base valuation, which is, this gets complicated because of state formulas, but I'll just leave it there. That's the primary measure of valuation for there, rose 7.5%. The direct taxable amount has been about 5.5% if you take away any state involvement there. If our real estate valuation was the same now as it was in fiscal year 19, nobody built a new house, nobody made any changes, your mill rate, instead of being proposed at 32 today, would be proposed at 34.20, just to raise the same amount of money. So increase in valuation is a good thing, and it has been helping us out. Things are getting better in Eastport, and that's another thing that's helped keep our taxes below inflation. I finally want to talk about what contributes to taxation. There are three main components, of which I can only control one. Municipal expenses, education expenses, and the county tax. Oops. So, these are, I'm just going from 2022 now. how much of the budget is made up by each of these components. It's a little hard to make sense of all those numbers together, so I did a slightly different thing. I did this graph, which just says, for each year, what proportion goes where. And you see it's roughly stable, but won't surprise anyone to see county tax go from 6% to 9.6?
Yes.
Let me get my business glasses on so I can see what I'm looking at. That's better. The school is hovering, but the last 2 years, it's actually taken over a slightly larger percentage. And municipal, the part I can control, has declined over the last 5 years from 54% of the budget to 49.6% of the budget. Municipal's been getting squeezed in between the other two. I'm not going to discuss this graph. That's too confusing. But I did want to point out that, when we talk here, what I can control, I'm bringing forward a budget with municipal expenses rising 1.5%. I'm bringing forward a budget, however, that predicts your mill rate rising 5.28%. And that's because of these other things I can't control right now. I'll also point out, even if you think what municipal is bringing forward is still too high, that's where I have to fall back to the question, then what do you want to cut? And that's a question to you. That at this point we talk about, we provide the services we provide. I won't go on my soapbox about those right now. But that's going to be the question we have. And it's a hard one to ask. That you guys tasked me at the last meeting with bringing forward a budget that stayed the course. And so that's what I presented. So my takeaways, we kept the municipal increase low. Overall taxation is actually doing way better than inflation, even though the city is just as subject to inflation as any homeowner is. The amount of control the council and city manager has its limits. The state has significantly reduced the potential tax burden, and so has valuation. That's where we start today. Now I have this question, why does it feel worse than that? Because I know it feels, a lot of people think things feel, I don't know if I call this a stunning thing, but it's not doomsday. Why does it feel worse? I don't know, but I have tried to answer that. I'm going to show this. Maybe this isn't meaningful to people, but first thing I wanted to show, we talk about people who are on fixed incomes. Just to be clear, Social Security increase tracks CPI. Now I know that Social Security is not enough to live on. People have other resources that don't grow, but it does track inflation, right? I just pulled that in there. I'm not saying that it's not hard to pay taxes or anything else, but to be clear, at least that has been keeping up. It's not taxation that's going through the roof. This is what's called the University of Michigan of Consumer Sentiment. This started being collected in 1952. 100, which is about the second line from the top, third line from the top, is how people felt about the economy in 1966. We are at the lowest point recorded apart from about 3 years ago. The only other point that was nearly as bad was right back in 1979. This despite the fact, I know you see the economic news today, employment's up. Everyone must feel great, right? Because employment's up. All the big numbers are saying good things right now, and people feel like crap. I can't tell you why that's true. I can tell you some people, like in the Wall Street Journal, think people just don't know what's going on. They don't know how good they have it. I don't think that's true, but it's a sign. And that's just that looking at it closer. Things have been bad since COVID. It never got better after COVID. It got a little bit better. Right at the beginning of 2021, it started pushing up towards 90, but it's been bad. I'm just going to throw a couple things out. This is not meant to be political. I just picked stuff I could find on today's newspaper that would discuss it. Little things like, since 1980, corporate profits have gone, the amount of money made from gross domestic income in corporate profits has gone from 6 million to 12 million, while the amount that goes to labor is from 58 to 52. That's a huge macroeconomic problem I can't solve. But what that means is people who don't make a lot of money feel squeezed. This guy, one of the president of the Federal Reserve Bank, says if you build data centers, provide energy, sell to higher income customers, trade on Wall Street, etc., your economy is hot. But if you're a farmer, a realtor, a manufacturer, hurt by tariffs, or dependent on lower income consumers, you're struggling. We have a bifurcating economy. And I think anyone who pays attention here can see it happening in this city as well. So I just want to say, when people are upset or unhappy with that, I get it. I'm empathetic to it. My job as city manager, however, is to bring forward a budget to you that executes on the services you've asked for in the way I think is most reasonable. And that's what you'll be seeing, and that's what we'll be talking about in the Budget Committee. I'm going to do one more thing. I want to put an ad for this. Because every now and then I'll be told that there's somebody who's choosing between taxes and food or something like that. It's usually some older person, they live in their family house. The state will pay your taxes by this program, the State Property Tax Deferral Program. You can apply to this. You have to own your house free and clear. There's some income and asset limits, but they're not huge. And the state will pay your tax from that point on. No more property tax. Now, they put a lien on your house. Right? I mean, let's be clear. They're not going to just do it out of the goodness of their heart. They put a lien on your house. You essentially get a fee-free reverse mortgage from the state for the amount of your taxes. You have to apply by April 1st if you're interested in that. So if you're hoping to leave your house to your family or something, yeah, that would suck. But if you're really in a desperate situation, this program exists, and I've talked about it a couple times in this meeting, but I have yet to run into anybody who's actually really heard of it or worked with it before, and I want to make sure I put an ad in for that. So that's just another statement of that. So that, again, is the most important numbers. I'm sure the one most people will pay attention to will be that 5.28% at the end. Questions to council?
There's no questions, but thank you.
Yeah, I think you're not proving anything today. You don't get to take any action. We just go to Budget Committee now. I will contact the Budget Committee in the next couple of days. We'll set up our first meeting and we will get underway.
I think the one thing that I can remember from last year's budget meetings, because the school one was at the very end and it was very tense in the room, was if the school matched the city's increase. So if we go up 1.1, whatever it was, if the school goes up 1.1, where would that reflect on us? I mean,
exclusive of anything else, we go approximately 1.1%, because as you saw, school and municipal are both right around 50%. It would be exactly that, but it would be pretty close.
It just, I mean,
and we're voting on the school budget separately.
Yes, and that's something I hope we'll do explicitly and correctly this year. In the past, I've given you bad advice saying that, well, not what you can do about the school, which is part of your budget, but I read the charter, and the charter is very clear that the school committee makes a recommendation to council, and council passes you pass that budget. There are, I believe, 3 questions that make it the formal way of doing it, but according to charter, you're essentially approving a bottom line number that they're doing that results in our local share, which they are then empowered to spend. So you're not allowed to tell them how to spend it or do anything else, but you get to specify that amount.
So we could say you only get a 2% increase.
Correct.
Figure it out.
They will be presenting their first draft budget tomorrow.
but thank you, Brian. I don't know, Jean, did you have questions?
Yeah, I actually did, and it goes back to what we've been talking about, obviously with money, and obviously with the code of conduct for City Hall. My concern is that the question to me is, where do we go when we're frustrated and angry to try to get information or try to have an impact on what's going on? And try to, I know for a fact specifically that some city workers are not in fact working to the best of their ability, and that there's a lot of wasted time, and people in town see this, and that leads to frustration, and that leads to people being grossly inappropriate in City Hall. But I think that we need a platform, a forum, somewhere where people can go and feel as if they're being heard at this point because they're frightened.
I couldn't disagree with you more, but we'll leave it at that. Not that they shouldn't have a forum, but some of the other allegations you made about city staff, I'm sorry, Gene. You don't know what you're talking about. And
I am very specific, Brian. I will not be specific here.
Fair enough.
I do know.
And you can't come and speak to me, though. You haven't spoken to me in some time, so...
Well, I understand that, but what I'm saying is we need to take care of our residents. We need to help people at least be able to cope with everything that's going on in a healthy manner. And we need to have a place where maybe they can vent, or maybe we can just get information, follow up on it, and get back to them. But let them feel as if they're being heard, because right now, the residents feel as if they are not being heard.
I'll leave that to your representatives to address that.
Thank you, Gene. I think that that's a very, I don't want to say a hard ask, because I don't know, first of all, I don't feel comfortable having a meeting with residents that want to complain about an employee and not allowing that employee to be there.
I don't want to complain about an
Okay.
employee. I just want to have support for the residents, because so many are so concerned about being able to keep their homes. And it's coming out, and it's coming out inappropriately. There is no question about it. People are just kicking up and being angry. There needs to be a place where maybe we can de-escalate and help them work through a process or work through a problem, so that they have a place, they're not rolling into City Hall and chewing on Ella, but they have a place that they can go. And I think it's something that, as a city council, you need to look at.
I agree. I guess my first concern would be, are they at least reaching out to City Hall? Are they just talking to you, or other residents?
I don't know.
Okay, well, I guess that would be my first question, because the manager works for us, which we work for you, and we can't. I know, but we can't do anything if you haven't even taken the first step. You need to talk to the manager. If the manager doesn't resolve the issue in a fashion that you like, then it can come to us and we can discuss it. But, I mean...
But there has to be a place where they can come and feel safe. And I'm very good at sidestepping when somebody gets angry or frustrated and de-escalating a situation. I think we need to do that. I think we need to listen. I think that the behaviors in City Hall are escalating because the frustration and the fear are escalating. And I think if we don't change that trend, it will do nothing but get worse. Right along with the budget.
I agree. And I hope, AJ's our representative on the budget committee this year, but I intend to try to make some of them, because I want to see how many show up and ask questions. Because I can tell you in the past, it's been zero.
Well, that's not true, Billy. I've been there.
You have. Yes, you have, Gene. Yes, and I'm not taking that away from you, but there's a lot of the process of it and the deliberation between the budget committee that comes out of that, and that deliberation comes to the council. We have to listen to it and say, well, look, the budget committee, which is people that we've selected to be on there, are saying, look, do this. Yet we know it's going to cost taxpayers more money. And not all the taxpayers are happy with the budget committee's results. They're not happy when we do it.
No, you're never going to make everybody happy. But what I'm seeing is an increase in unhappiness and verbal abuse.
Yes.
And it shouldn't happen, because it's bringing out the worst in people. And we need to change that, and we need to change it now before it gets worse. And not just say it's going to go away and hire head in the sand.
Oh, no, it isn't going to go away. It's got to be addressed in the proper meeting. And I think it begins in the budget meetings, because that's where you set monies aside to take care of the services that you request. If we don't set the money aside for the services you request, then you're going to get upset, because now that service isn't there anymore.
Right.
And I don't know, but...
I don't have the answer. I just...
And from what I'm understanding, a lot of the arguments that are coming at City Hall isn't necessarily about taxes per se.
No.
It's that they aren't being met with their need at this second. I'm here right now. I don't want to make an appointment.
Okay.
That's procedural.
And that's not fair. I understand that. I appreciate that, Ron. But what I'm saying is that what happens is that they bubbled up and they've gotten to the point where they hit City Hall and then they explode.
Right.
And if we can stop before it starts to boil, I think we can make at least more comfort, because people are not feeling heard. People are feeling dismissed. people are feeling, when Brian said to me, that's not true. I know for a fact, in 2 specific cases, that it is. And when you dismissed me, that's offensive.
Yeah.
We can't do that anymore. We need to listen.
Right. I agree. And I'm not going to apologize for Brian's comments because those were his comments, but I don't know the answer to that, Gene, but I would be very surprised if you have municipalities with tax bills in 2 weeks turnaround.
Billy, I don't care about any other news.
The mail isn't in 2 weeks anymore. I'm sorry.
You said other places. Where's the other
Shapley.
places? Where?
Shapley, Maine, we get our bills on the 1st of September, they're due the 1st of October.
30 days, okay.
Yeah.
So we send out ours earlier, and we have them do a little bit later. My question, that may actually be in charter. I don't think we're doing it because we think it's a neat idea. We'll have to check that. I personally have no problem. I'm not entirely sure how that would be received by the people if they were suddenly receiving a bill saying it's due a month earlier.
Down there too, but that's a fact.
Yeah.
And there are shorter windows, and I think it's something we need to look at. Because then it won't put you in the bind, and people will be clear on what needs to happen. We get our bills paid in 30 days because we know they're coming.
Right.
So if you don't surprise people, I think it's going to be a lot easier to swallow.
It would, Gene, and there's no question with that. And in the back of my mind, I've had many a times, how about doing 2 bills a year? Maybe it's easier. I don't know, but I know it would be an additional expense to get it together. It'd be an additional expense to mail them. Then you got your late fees. I know there's a lot of other things, but it may be easier and helpful. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't have the answers. I have the questions, but I have the concerns.
Yeah.
And my concerns are for the residents here.
Well, I think
So is ours.
I do want to go back to what you said, something about employees not doing what people expect or...
What their job expectation is.
Yeah, we can't micromanage
I
what people are
understand
doing. They put your specific concern in writing to Brian and have him address that. That's not something we can micromanage.
No, I understand that. I'm not asking you to do that, and I don't want to get into specifics. I'm just saying that I'm not the only one who sees this.
Well, people need to put it in writing and address
But
it.
you know what, Colleen, they don't want to. And they don't want to because there's retribution or there's dismissal the way I had tonight. And it's unacceptable.
But I think we could work on that, and again, I apologize for that, but that's all I can do, Gene. But I agree with Colleen that we can't address something if we don't know about it because they won't say anything, because they won't do anything. They can ask to be anonymous. They don't have to put their name on it.
And maybe
But
that's something that we can...
But they can do that.
Okay.
I mean, that's a hard.
It's
We need
wicked hard.
details, though. We
I'm
gotta
not
have some
saying-
details.
No, I
It's a hard-
understand
it's
that,
a-
Colleen,
Yeah.
and I appreciate that, absolutely.
No,
You know,
nobody wants to be in
as-
that position.
As a principal, I had to deal with the same types of things, but you have to deal with them.
Right.
And it wasn't even necessarily that someone had to come to me to tell me. It was my responsibility to just do drive-bys and check. And I used to call them drive-bys, but I taught in the hood. But my teachers knew that, I'm sorry. My teachers knew that they didn't lock their doors,
Yeah.
that I needed to be able to walk in and see what was going on, and not necessarily make a comment, but send an email later. And I think that kind of monitoring, as opposed to a timesheet, is critical for accountability. Because I think inherently we will all get lazy if we're not held accountable. So anyway,
It's
there are
true.
two things.
Yeah, it is. It's true.
And I just think if we can help the residents feel better, I think it's going to reduce your need for a code of conduct in City Hall. But they need to have a place to go. And they need to have a place to go where they feel safe to let whatever information they have out. or whatever concerns they have out. I don't know, my 10 cents.
You could start a group out to the senior center.
No.
The power's off. I thought that. I did.
But thank you, Gene. And I know for myself, I mean, I care about the citizens. I represent them. And I want to
I
represent
think we
them.
all do.
Yes.
I
And
mean, we're
it's,
not just here.
we put our name on the line and we're here to help them. But we can't help them if we don't know. And believe me, many of them have told me similar situations that you're talking about. But I'm only one, and I can only address it to the manager. And he works
I
for...
hope your response was better than mine was.
Yes, but... Yes, okay, Gene. But thank you. But
I'm
thank you.
done. Thanks, Billy.
And we want you to have a good trip, and we want you to come home
Thank
safe. And you will come home safe.
We'll just turn Europe upside down and come home.
There you go. But thank you. All right, we are on to item 6. Minutes of previous meetings.
I move to accept the minutes of February 2nd, 2025, March 12th, 2025, and January 14th, 2026.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call please, Sarah.
Dana Cummings?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Seeley? Boone?
Yes. Item 7, City Manager's Report.
All right, first thing, I just want to draw attention, financial report, we are running dead on budget, which honestly makes me nervous. I would love to have a bigger cushion there. I believe when we passed budget last year, I said, the intention was to budget what we needed, not to put too much in there.
But we've had a lot of surprises this year, Brian.
Well, we've also had a lot of surprises. So, for example, one might have hoped that we had bids today that would pay down the senior center, and that didn't happen today. But we'll keep looking at stuff like that, and I'll keep my eye on it. But there's been nothing new and surprising. And as always, if you want to go into individual items, we can. I was out with Public Works today. I sat in the plow truck for about 2 hours. We received what I would call a surprising number of complaints after the last snowstorm about people having snow at the end of their driveways. I don't want to make too light of it because I can understand in a couple of cases why people might have felt that something was wrong. There was one where there was definitely like a foot on one side and 4 feet on the other side. I can tell you from the experience I've had now, they're paying attention. They're not doing anything to anyone on purpose. I will always hear complaints and I'll go back to them, but I had a lot explained to me today. I don't know the first thing about plowing, and certainly not in the city. And I guess this is a place to say, sorry, Jeannie left, I do want to say, if I do not mean to dismiss people, but if I've got a generic complaint that alleges that some employee is not performing correctly in a public meeting, I need to defend them. That's not appropriate. People need to speak with me with specific complaints with support. I will always consider that. But I apologize if I got short, but that is why. Very glad with how Public Works is doing. That first storm, they were out there for a very long time.
That big one a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, it's been another, today was an interesting one, not as bad, but another one that kind of just started and kept going all day, and they're out there all day. I also want to draw attention to the police report. I hope you like the new one we've got here. It's real easy for me to produce because I take it out of RCC. We are almost at 90% coverage, which has always been my goal. We're only budgeted at 66.7%. So 90% I think is a real achievement. And this is due in large part that now we've got, both Chief Mark and ex-Chief Mark on as full-time right now. You might actually notice in your budget, the police department budget is down quite a bit, and that's because, as currently budgeted in the draft budget, I'm not seeking to get another full-timer because we failed to get someone. So what you're seeing there is essentially a family health insurance coming off the books. It's concerning that it makes that big an impact on the budget, right? Should we decide to hire someone, that comes back, and we'll talk about that in the budget committee. But I will also point out the calls for service in January, 65. There was only 1 month in all of 2004 where it was that high. I don't think that means that we're in the middle of like a crime wave. I think what it means is people know they can call the police again. Because it's been rising steadily over that time, and I haven't had an impression that things are falling apart. But we'll keep an eye on that. And we'll see if we're able to keep that going forward. But I'm very proud of that. When I came on, there was no police department. And I didn't do it all, Mark did most of it. But I'm glad we're able to get decent coverage again.
Can I ask what that alarm, COMM
You know what, you can, but I'll have to go back and ask them to give that thing. We also had this one CAN, the CAN respond. You know, my first guy, it can't possibly be Canada, right? It's not like they're helping us out, but we haven't gotten an answer to that yet. I'll dig that out for the next report.
I think that's when like an alarm goes off and they have to go check what it is.
Oh, I'm sorry. So that's what the call means. And yes, I'll have to get better definitions for the calls. This is just dumped right out of what comes out of there. But there's also one agency, we had an agency, CAN, reporting, and we're trying to figure out what that is. But we'll take care of that. I haven't been worrying too much about the other agencies. I'm just interested in what we're responding to. I will point out, so that just in case the sheriffs are looking at this, I'm not saying the sheriffs have only been here whatever percentage of time is. They will come on other calls as well. But there are many calls in the system where you'll see 2 or 3 agencies responding, because one is responding and the other is assist. So we get a lot of assist from the sheriff's department. I want to make it clear that, you know, I think we got 6 or 7 assists in there in addition to the calls that are there. But at least we're able to talk about it for real now. So I will go back and see if we can get some better descriptions of some of these things for your next report. I have nothing else to bring up. My head's full of budget. That was all I was able to come up with for this meeting. Unless there's something else you need from me, or stay in the course.
That's your city manager report?
Yep.
Okay.
Excuse me, Brian, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Police coverage, how much is it? I mean, is it 24-hour day, or is it?
Well, so no, we're only budgeted, at most we can do two-thirds of that, 67%, because that's how many people we've got. So the fact that we can cover 90% of our calls, I hope means that we're deploying those people in a way that's maximizing coverage. But that's what we're budgeting for. If we wanted to go to 24/7 coverage, we would need to add another officer, which would add, I'm going to say, 3% to the budget. 3 to 3.5, depending on how.
All right. Item 8, council liaison updates and issues.
All my committees are still intact.
So am I. Really not a lot to report. The senior center had its annual meeting, and Dale was chosen president again for the coming year, and the building's getting a lot more use, which I'm pleased to see. Other than that, I don't guess I have any. Yes, good. We're on item 9. Need a motion to enter into executive session.
Make the motion to go into executive session for personal matters, Title 1, MRSA 4056A, in consultation with legal counsel, Title 1, MRSA 4056E at 7:48.
Second it.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call please, Sarah.
Dana Cummings?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
Boone?
Yes.
Zoom, and I'm on the record.
So I'm going to assume this is 9B, motion to come out of executive session.
I make a motion at 8:26 to come out of executive session.
Second it.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Dana Cummings?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
Boone?
Yes. Item 10, action from executive session, if any.
None.
Hearing none, we're on the last one.
I motion to adjourn at 8:27.
Second it.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call Sarah.
Dana Cummings?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Seeley?
Yes.
Boone?
Yes.
Mazel tov.
Not quite out yet.